we're here today at the British Museum here in London on a hopefully non-rainy day. We'll have to see how it goes. I'm Ryan MacDonald, one of the UK's Mars One candidates, and
I'm Dianne McGrath, one of the Australian Mars One candidates. So, Ryan.
Yeah.
It's very different. I mean, in Australia, there's 7 of us, as you know, and not too dissimilar in numbers to what you have in the UK. But of course, Australia's kind of a bit bigger than UK. We don't get to meet up even ourselves very often, so it's awesome to meet you. I mean, do you guys in the UK get to meet up very often?
Well, yeah, I mean, in the last month here in the UK, we've had 2 meetups, so it's obviously nice being able to hop on a train and within a few hours be there with all your other candidates. So, I mean, what's the distribution of candidates like over in Australia?
In Australia, there's 7 of us in total, so we have 5 of them in Queensland, which is one of our northern states, and the other 2 of us, myself and Josh, are in Melbourne, which is right down the bottom. And to get to Brisbane, where the others are mostly based, and even further north to Cairns, where Gunnar is based, that's goodness, that's almost a day's worth of travelling, a number of different flights, so it's not easy. We don't catch up. In fact, we haven't met up as a group yet. We're hoping to do so early next year. A few of us have met up face to face, though.
So what's been your experience of meeting with some of the candidates? Because I've maybe met in person maybe around 10 to 15 candidates in people. But that's obviously very convenient being in Europe, so close to the nexus of it all. So how many people have you met in person?
I have met three now.
I feel so privileged.
Because we're so far away from each other in Australia. I've met Josh. I met him a few times, Josh Richards, and I met Natalie Lawler, who's in Brisbane. And I've had some emails or messages from some of the others, but that's it. But everyone's so far away from us, so we see the rest of you guys catching up. We're like, so hard. Yeah.
So when you've met other candidates in person, how do you think it differs from just communicating with them online? And do you think there's any kind of single trait that candidates seem to share in your experience?
That's really interesting. Actually, I think there is. When I have met the other candidates, or even just the difference from meeting them to being on email, it's around a solidarity. Like, you finally meet someone who's going through all the same stuff as you. Even though your personal journeys are different, you're all on this same mission. Your vision is the same, and it's almost like you're coming together for a reunion almost. It's a family hug.
And it's odd because we know these people so well because I mean we've been in the Mars One program in some cases since April 2013.
Yeah, a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean it's a big part of your life, and then you finally meet people who you've spoken to a lot before, but just in person, it's just a bizarre experience. But then you just immediately gel with them.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
I mean, I always find that. We're obviously from completely different backgrounds.
Yes.
We have completely different life experience, completely different cultures, and yet there's just one thing that we just seem to that unifies us, that links us together. This whole idea of the bigger picture or doing the mission for humanity. I know often in the media people say, well, are you going to Mars because you don't like your life here on Earth? And it's not like that. I find I love my life here on Earth, and what I want to do by going to Mars, it's all about bringing ideas back to Earth, getting people on Earth excited about science, and it's all about what you can give back to people back on Earth.
Oh, definitely. I'm sure most of us get the same question about, why on earth would you want to go, and don't you like your life here? And I love my life here. I love swimming in the ocean. I love running outside. I love the research I do. I love trying to make a difference to sustainability, but I can do those things from another planet as well. Just make it in such a way that it has an even greater benefit here on Earth, I think. Yeah, most definitely.
So, Dan, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
I've been quite fortunate. I've lived in a number of different places around Australia, and as a child, I spent nearly 7 years growing up in the outback and in the desert. So for me,
very much like Mars, then.
Red dust and a lot of isolation as a kid, actually. But I've moved around as an adult, so I've spent years living in many different states, and I've worked for government in the energy policy area, worked in pharmaceutical industry for a long time, and now I work in sustainability, particularly in sustainable food systems, and that's kind of my area.
Very important for human life on Mars, of course.
Very important. Yeah, we need to be able to eat. If you don't eat, very simple. Don't eat. There's no life.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm curious. So, what do you think about the aspects of isolation that we will have to experience when we go into the first simulation outpost as part of eventually round 3 and then round 4 of the selection process? Have you experienced isolation before?
I guess, growing up I was very isolated as a child, and that's, I did all my schooling in those years by correspondence, so the school would send me the work and I'd teach myself from books and mail things back, and I had brothers, so I still have brothers. And
always nice to know.
They're still around, thank God. But they were my only friends in those days, and the rest of the time I was kind of by myself, just living in the middle of nowhere. So I guess I have experienced some sort of form of isolation for a long period of time as a child, and whether that's going to be helpful in that environment.
Yeah, because I think,
who knows?
I personally don't know, because the world is globalised at the moment. We're so connected.
Yeah.
We just don't experience the level of isolation that people used to in centuries past.
Yeah.
And so I always think it's fascinating to explore the analogy of what going to Mars might be like relative to those first people who, say, went to Australia, for instance.
Yes.
So what do you think about the kind of analogy there and how it might compare?
I think it's what most school children in particular can understand, and adults as well, that idea of that pioneering spirit of not being afraid to see what is out there. There's so many people that came to Australia, but then once they're there, Australia's such a vast country. A lot of the early explorers were trying to see, is there an inland sea, or can we go and live here, or what sort of resources are over here, can we survive? And I kind of think that in some ways the Mars One mission's a bit like that too. It's the extension of humanity going, well, can we do this? Can we live out there?
What can't we do? Are there any boundaries? Because we haven't come up with any solid boundaries. We started in Africa and we just continually went out. We're always out to explore. And the thing that really excites me is that it's not just about the physical exploration of what might be on Mars. It's about the exploration of ideas.
Yeah.
And I think if anything will be the greatest export from Mars, it's not going to be resource or anything. It'll be the export of ideas from Mars. Ideas
and also how we can live as a society as well. I think
some
of the things
absolutely.
that excite me is about the practicalities, about how we can better communicate cross-culturally. The four that will go will be from different corners of the globe here.
Absolutely.
And that gender diversity and the breadth of age and experience of this tiny community that will say, if we can do this like this, as a community and live so well integrated like this, why on earth can't we do it on this planet?
It's like humanity in a bottle almost. And the fact that it's going to be a documentary series and that anyone from around the world can watch it, it's going to show the best. It's just the distilled essence of the best that humanity has to offer. And so I'm really excited about the possibilities to inspire the public to try a different way of living potentially.
Yes.
Maybe we will find a better way to build a society on Mars, and that's an incredibly exciting prospect.
I don't know if you had the chance. I've had the chance to speak to some junior primary school, so preps and so forth, and we do little activities, colouring in things and drawing things, and what would you take on an exciting trip to space? And it's like trying to keep kittens in a box. Their energy is just amazing. It's great, but
it's the one infinite resource we have on the Earth, just the excitement of children.
It is. We should be powering everything with it. Just put them in, and these roaches going, and off we go, no worries. We'll never need solar power. It's children.
Oh no, I love the ideas that children generate. So I went to a school and I actually judged a competition for designing spacecraft.
Oh yes.
And it was absolutely fascinating seeing the ideas they were coming up with to power spacecraft. In fact, the most common idea actually was hamster power.
Brilliant.
It's just wonderful. Hamsters run around and rocket flies away.
But it just shows that they bring aspects of their own life into whatever they're thinking about or projecting. The questions they ask too always tell you so much about themselves. Can you take a dog with you to space?
That's the one thing I love. Because with children, you get questions that you've never encountered before. We've both been involved in Mars One for over 2 years now, but it's children that are creative enough to come up with brand new questions, and that's what really makes me smile, having to think on my feet.
And I've started giving a prize for any child that can come up with a question I've never heard before.
It's a great idea. I'm going to try that.
It's just like a Mars One sticker or something like that. I don't tell them at the start of a prize for any question, but whenever a child asks me a new question, there's a prize for you. So then even more hands come up. I've got a question. But no, it's great. I love it. The energy, you could almost spend the whole time just doing question and answer at any school you go to or any class group. They're so inspired and excited by it and they want to explore it.
And for me, it's not just about us going out and inspiring children. I think we gain a lot from that as well.
Definitely.
It's seeing the excitement. It reminds you of why you're doing this and that we're making a difference. And I would argue that it's the most rewarding aspect of being a Mars One candidate, engaging with children and young people in schools.
I think think about it from the Australian perspective, as opposed to say the US, and I don't know what it's like here in Europe, but we don't have an astronaut program or really any sort of space program in Australia. So the thought of having someone in their school,
someone who you could know, someone who maybe they know your parents, or maybe someone who was at a grocery store, someone who is local going into space.
Yes, and even if you don't, incredible. It doesn't really matter to that child because they've seen that something is possible. And that's the thing that excites me as well, is that to be there and help a child see that, that dream you've got, it's not crazy, it is possible. You have to just work out how to do it and don't lose sight of it.
That's the fundamental message that I always want to convey. It's just identify what is the one thing in life that you're incredibly passionate about and you want to pursue, and so long as you're determined enough and never give up on it, there are no barriers. You can achieve anything. And I think that's the real message that we want to convey by our involvement in the Mars One project. Maybe they don't want to go into space. In fact, many people do not want to go to Mars, but it's the image that we can do it that I think is so important.
I love sharing with the students as well the fact that not all of us in the Mars One program, the 100 that left, not all of us have science degrees or physics or whatever, that we come from such a diversity of experience, and it doesn't matter as long as you are passionate about something and have the desire to learn it, you can learn it.
Yeah, that's the point. I mean, it's the whole, I encounter often this idea that some people are just smart, they'll succeed, and then but it's not like that. The thing I've experienced time and time again throughout my life is that it's the people who work hard and are determined that succeed in life, and that's just what there is. And that's what I want to convey.
Yeah, exactly.
Just there are no limits on you. You're not born either going to succeed or fail. It's up to you how far you go.
Yeah, and that's one of the points that I really hope kids take out of meeting with any of us, is that the only people that should set boundaries on dreams are themselves, and even then, why?
The only boundaries are self-imposed. That's very much the point.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
So, but just to wrap up then, so based on what's happening with Mars One at the moment, what do you think is the most exciting development that's happening at the moment? Because obviously there's so much going on with Mars One at the moment.
I was incredibly excited about the publication of the Paragon Report. Whether you're a scientist or not, that doesn't matter. To see validation that human beings can survive on the planet Mars using the sort of technology that already exists today, it was incredibly exciting for me. It just reminded me that this is achievable, and that we don't have to look beyond what we already know to be able to do this in many instances. I guess it comes down to one thing: do the thing that makes you want to get up in the morning. It's really that. It's something that makes you want to be happy being yourself, and that drives you to get up every day.
Yeah, and it's very much the same for me. Just don't let other people say you can do this or you can't do this. Find out what you're passionate about, pursue it relentlessly, and if you do that and you stay determined and stay focused, you will achieve your dreams in the end. Okay, bye everyone. This has been a Mars One meetup here in London outside the British Museum, and we'll see you next time. Bye!
See ya.
Thanks for watching. Do you have any thoughts on the topics Dianne and I discussed, and would you like to see more conversations like this in the future? Let me know in the comments down below. This week's featured video is the official trailer for the film adaptation of Andy Weir's novel The Martian, which will be released in October. Next up though will be a Mars One mission update, bringing you the latest news on the project from the past month. I'm going to be away next week, so it's currently targeted to be released on August 4th, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it.